Recording. Hey everybody, I'm Charles Townsend. I'm the director of Going As, a cosplay film.
Cosplay is a combination of two words, costume and play. Put together, you have cosplay, and it is a way of being able to express yourself in costume, whether it be in a wig, in a costume, combination of the two, you are in cosplay.
So this film follows a group of cosplayers, Hannah, Daphne, Sage, and ELISA, as they prepare for a cosplay convention.
I am Daphne Snover, and what got me into cosplay is, I'd say I was around 14. I've always been a little nerdy, so I've always enjoyed watching all sorts of different TV shows, and if I had really liked a character, honestly, I was always a little creative too, so I would like to find a way to embody that character and show my appreciation for that character. And even when I was 14, I think my first costume was when I was in marching band. They had a Halloween day, and I decided to do Robin. So I made a Robin costume and went to marching band practice in my Robin costume.
The Force Awakens came out, and I went and saw that with all my friends. And a bunch of them were like, hey, ELISA, you really kind of look like Rey. Like, you could totally have been Rey. So instead of being in Star Wars, I made a Rey costume for Tidewater Comic Con 2016. I entered the costume contest, even though I really didn't want to, because I was very nervous and I still had like a lot of stage fright and I was not confident at all. But my parents were like, no, you worked really hard on this costume. It's gonna be so good. And I'm very glad that they convinced me, because I ended up getting like best amateur cosplay. Thank you. And they're like, yeah, look at this. This is our first cosplay. Doesn't it look so accurate? I was like, wow, yes, thank you. Build up my confidence, boost my ego so that my head swells and I think that I'm much better than I actually am. But yeah, that was the start.
A comfort thing now. Back when I was in high school, I was just exploring my creativity. I wasn't quite sure. Like at that time, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a music teacher. I didn't know if I wanted to do theater, because I was involved in both of those during high school. And I didn't really feel like I could do anything with those, because my dad was very much, you need to do something that's going to make you money. And my my creative mind at the time said, no, I really want to do something that I want to do. Getting into costume was my little bit of creativity when I'm still not quite sure as a junior, senior in high school what I want to do with my life.
Kind of Mara, but also kind of Anastasia, which was my second one, because I just happened to find the perfect fabric and found like super, super wide, like probably 120 wide, like probably 10 yards of this stuff at the thrift store I worked at the time. And I was like, I have to do this, because I already had like the blue stuff, the blue sash stuff, and then I happened to find the perfect like sheer for the sleeves, and I was like, okay. And I was my first ball gown, and I love massive dresses and princess dresses and everything, so it was just like, oh, I get to be it. And I was just so happy with how it came out, and the pictures from when I first did still look really cool to this day. So a friend need not be kept within sight or within reach. A friend must be allowed the freedom to find and follow his own path. If one is fortunate, those paths will for a time join. But if paths separate, it is comforting to know that a friend still graces the universe with his skills and his viewpoint and his presence. For if one is remembered by a friend, one is never truly gone. I love that one. I like the friendship one because I know my best friend in the world currently is 7 hours away, and it's very far.
And we follow them getting their materials together. We see them crafting, designing and crafting their costumes. We also peek in on their lives a little bit. We see them at work and hanging out with their friends. But besides just following this group of cosplayers, we also talk to others in the cosplay community and the convention community at large. We speak to Jason Keith, who is a Marvel comic artist and founder of Cosplay World.
And so we were going to go to Wizard World Chicago to get paid for the first time, but that also ended up being my first big convention to attend as an attendee. And at that point, I didn't even notice cosplay. I was just so enamored with just being there and the whole spectacle of everything that it wasn't on my radar. And then I worked for Marvel for over 10 years before I ever did a convention as a professional. Just before COVID, I had done like 4 or 5. And then after COVID, I started doing about 20 a year. And that was the perfect place to start observing the rise of cosplay as we know it now, because everybody had been locked up, all of a sudden had these new skills. Less than a year ago, I created Cosplay World. And the idea was it was going to be a regular Comic-Con with the cosplay focus.
We talked to a Broadway costume designer who's also an award-winning cosplayer.
I definitely see cosplay as a form of therapy for myself in terms of getting out of my shell. I am very introverted, and my art of creating costumes is very solitary. And when I put on a costume and go out in public, I do get a lot of people approaching me, wanting to take pictures, wanting to talk to me. It makes me feel more like I belong to a community and that people appreciate what I've put into something.
We speak to some professional cosplayers, ones who get featured at these conventions. We speak to comic book shop owners, and we speak to a lot of cosplayers. A couple of the questions that we're asking in this film, or that we're themes that we're touching on, is the rise of women in cosplay and cosplay as therapy. With the rise of women, we kind of all seen that there's been an evolution in the conventions. It used to be, kind of a boys' club, but has evolved and changed over the years with the popularity of superhero movies and anime and manga and all the other facets coming together. The community has grown and is a lot more inclusive and expansive. There's a lot more diversity in the community. So we're kind of showing that. Cosplay as therapy is, something that we can all relate to. We all have, our things that kind of, that are little anchors or things that kind of hold us back sometimes. And cosplay can be a way for people to sort of break through these little barriers that they may have. Sometimes they're not little, but it's a way for them to maybe step out of their normal, everyday, issues and be somebody else for a little while. Put a mask on and pretend to be somebody else.
Just being able to walk around with all these other people who share the same passions and love doing the same things make it feel so much more comfortable to express myself and my passions. It's helped with my depression, just with meeting up with my friends and crafting things just gets me in a whole good mood. It's fun to see something and know that you made that, and it's pretty cool.
For me, cosplay has always been therapy because I can step into a costume and become somebody else. I change my looks, I change my hair color, I change my face, I change my clothes, I change my mannerisms, and it allowed me to develop a lot of confidence to the point where now I go to conventions and I'm not bothered so much by the crowds. I kind of am just like, wow, there's a lot of people here, but it doesn't scare me as much. And I'm not afraid to step out and be in costume.
For some people, that's an outlet that they need so that they can feel involved in the community. They can make friends, and that's the other thing to it, is that the cosplay community is very much a community. It's very accepting. It's very non-judgmental. It's very diverse. There's not any other place that I've been to where you can see strangers approach each other and celebrate each other's costumes and want to get photos taken with strangers. You don't see that anywhere else. And also the craftsmanship and the artistry and the creativity that go into some of these costumes. These people are spending years working on their art and on these costumes, and it's just incredible and it's inspiring. And so what we're hoping with this film is that we can showcase what it looks like for some normal people to do cosplay, what they kind of have to go through to prepare for the conventions. But we also, ask some questions of the cosplay community at large. One of the questions that we also ask is, the cosplay is not consent. It's something that with the popularity of cosplay and the conventions and more interactions happen, and sometimes those interactions aren't positive ones.
Like, I don't really mind if people take sneak pictures, but if they try to touch me without my permission, that's what I get.
Yeah.
So I always appreciate people asking that first.
The community is taking steps to sort of address that issue. And so we ask that question, and we hear some stories about instances that hopefully don't happen again. We hope that this documentary shines a positive light on the cosplay community, and that people who don't know anything about cosplay will look at it, see that this world exists, and sees how positive it is, how accepting and diverse it is. Maybe just get a little bit of education, maybe get interested enough to come out to a convention and see just what's going on. So the film is currently in edit. We're looking at releasing it onto Amazon sometime later this year, fall of 2023. We also plan on showcasing it in a few conventions and also putting it into some film festivals. So be on the lookout for the film later this year. If you're a cosplayer, I just want to say thank you. The community is great. I've had a fantastic time meeting a bunch of you and interviewing you guys. You guys just keep going out there and being supportive of each other. Just build the community, make it so much stronger and bigger than it is. Hopefully this film will showcase just what you guys do and just how awesome it is. So be on the lookout for Going As, a cosplay film, later this year.
Have fun while I'm gone and enjoy the premiere. Take pictures at conventions. I want to see what you guys are up to while I'm gone. Show me your costumes. Yeah. And I've got plans for when I'm back, and we all know them, so we'll be ready.